Do you struggle to say no? Do you feel guilty or like you're letting people down when you say no? Or do you feel like you have to explain every no? Beautiful souls, Lisa here, and I've been doing some reflecting on boundaries and saying no. And this has really been the theme for me this year. As you know, I was a person who really couldn't say no. I was saying yes to anything that popped up, like a feather floating in the wind, going wherever the wind leads. And while there's some beauty in that, it got me here after all. It is exhausting. It leads to burnout. You feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. Like, if you don't show up for everyone and everything, it'll all fall to the ground. And that may be true. It may not. Who knows? But the truth of the matter is, there's so many experiences you could experience. There's so many choices. You can't possibly do everything. So saying yes to everything, especially the things that are really a no, it just leads to burnout. You lose yourself. Whenever I first started on this little path of boundaries, I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know who I was, what I liked, and that's a really, really tough place to be whenever you're faced with these choices, because it's like, well, how do I know to say yes or to say no? So, we'll get there. First, what I want to start off with is, in reflecting on myself and my life, why I struggle to say no to begin with. And this one is easy. Whenever I was a child, I was not allowed to say no, especially to authority. If it was a teacher, the teacher was always right. If it was at church, the elder was always right. My parents were always right. There was no discussing things. You were not allowed to say no. If you said no, I would get slapped in my mouth. So there is a remembrance of fear, and it was taught early that you don't say no, And then, there's just say no, which we could go into a whole rabbit hole with that. But anyway, I'm not allowed to say no. So there's like this fundamental danger present in my body anytime I say no. And I still feel it today. So it's important to reflect in your life, like, have you said no before and got punished for it? Because that is part of why it's difficult. Second, it is hard. It's not hard anymore, but it used to be really hard for me to hear no. I would take rejection and make it personal. Like, they said no to me, which means something is wrong with me. And that it may be true. Maybe they did say no because they hate you, but most of the time when somebody is saying no to you, it's because something else is going on with them. Maybe they've got a sick kid, maybe they don't have time, maybe they don't have money, maybe they have other plans. Whatever the case may be, it rarely has anything to do with who you are. And if it does, then take that and, see if you need adjusting, or maybe they just aren't your person, and that's fine too. But it was hard for me to hear no, because to me it meant something was like wrong with me. I was taking it personal. So then whenever I would say no to people, my fear was that they would also take it personal, and think that, I think that there's something wrong with them. And that's why I'm saying no. When really, it's just that it's not what I feel like doing right now, or whatever it may be. So that's important to look at as well, both in yourself and with others. So if somebody does get upset when you say no, you must be able to separate that from yourself, and not feel guilty for that. That is a lesson for them to learn, that it's because they're taking it personal. You could explain it and say, hey, no, it's not you, this is going on, but it's not yours. And if you are feeling a certain way when somebody tells you no, ask yourself, am I taking this personal? Am I making this more about me than it really is? Create another excuse for them that's not that you're a crap person, they have a sick kid at home and that's why they're not able to meet with me or whatever. So these are the biggest things that went into me not being able to say no. And right now in my journey, I am saying no, but it still feels very heavy when I do it. There's a lot of guilt rolling around in there, and that is okay. It is me sitting in that and listening to it and letting it know, I feel you and I know why you're there. It is safe to say no now. And doing that over and over again has gotten me from a point where I would literally shake and cry whenever I was setting a boundary or saying no, to being able to do it and just sit in that. And it takes less and less time each time. And eventually, the hope is it'll be completely rewired and there will be no more struggle in that. But it's not easy. I've been working on boundaries for the last 9 months pretty hardcore. And there's a reason why when we don't have them, there's a reason why we don't have them. It's because it feels really unsafe in your body to speak up for yourself, to advocate for yourself, to say no. One last thing that I want you to consider is the fact that when you say yes to everything, especially the things that you really want to say no to, when you're saying yes to things that you really want to say no to, you are saying no to yourself. And it sends a message to yourself that you matter less than whoever you are trying to please. And this was really helpful for me to know because, I have a hard time saying no. So it's either which way you're saying no, whether it's to yourself or to somebody else. So that was really helpful for me once I wrapped my head around that. When you're saying yes to certain things, you're saying no to everything else. So what is it that you really want to say yes to? Because y'all, we only get this one life. And if you spend it all saying yes to things that you don't want to do and places you don't want to be, that's your life. And then what are you doing? Just pleasing people around you? And what have you got? What lights you up? Where do you want to be? What do you want to say yes to? And where can you muster up the courage to say no?